Hello all. Wanted to give you a quick video showing you some of the things that I bought from my personal collection on our recent comic and toy buying road trip through Pennsylvania, Ohio, and Kentucky. Won't focus on comics really. Most of what we bought comics-wise was for Welcome Back Comics resale, and a couple things that I bought for myself are nothing to write home about, beater issues of some Defenders or other miniseries that I wanted to read. But definitely got a lot of cool stuff for my personal toy and collectible collection, and wanted to go through those more or less in chronological order. So our first toy buying stop, was where we got anything, was D&E Collectibles in Sharpsburg, Pennsylvania, right outside of Pittsburgh. This is one of my favorite vintage toy stores. I've been there 3 times, picked stuff up all 3 times. The prices there are very fair, and the staff is often willing to give you a discount if you ask, or sometimes even when you don't ask if you're paying in cash. So was really happy to stop there and was happy to find stuff. I've been, there have been relatively large blocks of time between my first and second visit. The last time I was there was last August, so it had been a little bit less than a year. But thankfully they had some new stuff in stock that was in my wheelhouse in terms of sort of 70s superhero related stuff. The first thing that caught my eye was this set of Corgi Jr. and Hot Wheels cars, superhero cars. And these are some things that I collect. So here's a Joker. These were $5 each, going back to my point that the prices at D&E are super affordable. Honestly, some of these at another store might have been at 10 to 15 bucks. And to be completely honest, here's the Penguin. I probably wouldn't have bought them at even $10 a piece, or at least most of them. There are a couple I would have picked up. So these are things, again, that I collect. They can go in, I'm not sure if you can see it, there's a rotating display case behind me that Galactus is standing on. As you can see, it's kind of a mess down here right now. And these go really well in the rotating display case. So here's a Wonder Woman. These are all Corgi Jr. from sometime in the 1970s. This one was probably the only one of this lot that I would have spent $10 on. The Batman on the Batcycle and the Batman figure comes off. I'm pretty sure I had this as a kid. I definitely had the next one I'll show you, which is the Spider-Man. And I actually do have this one already, but for $5 I couldn't pass them up. These are not in mint, pristine condition by any stretch of the imagination. You can see on the Spider-Man that his little kind of windshield thing is broken. But again, at $5 each, can't really pass them up. And then last but not least is one of the Hot Wheels Marvel cars from the 1970s, I think around 1978, that I didn't have. This is the Spider race car. Again, you can see as I do this, the wheels are a little wobbly, so certainly not in mint condition, but I was happy to add a new one to my collection for $5. Last thing I got kind of caught my eye. One thing that I will say about D&E Collectibles that I really like, all of their cases are open, so you're at liberty to kind of open it up, look at it, take stuff out. And, when we were talking with the folks there about it, one of the things they said was, yeah, we do that so that people can look around, and sometimes that creates a sale. And I have to say that's one of the things that happened here. I spied this Spider-Man fun poncho on my first pass through, and honestly, it was kind of like, it was a little hidden, and I wasn't necessarily sold on it. But when I picked it up and took a look at it and got it in my hands, I decided it needed to come home with me for the $25 I spent on it. So this was super exciting to get. So that was D&E. Let me just sort of look chronologically at where we stopped next. Our next stop where we bought anything was Big Fun Collectibles, or Big Fun Toys, in Columbus, Ohio. I really liked this store. Again, prices there were fair, maybe just a tick higher than at D&E, but certainly very reasonable. And found some things that were interesting. Richard bought a few things. I only got one item, which was this Mego Comic Action Heroes Captain America. Now, I was convinced that I had the straight-legged Captain America Pocket Heroes, so I needed the bent-leg Comic Action Hero. I was right that I had the straight-leg Pocket Heroes, but I did not remember that I also had Captain America already. So I'm going to compare this guy to the one I've got already. figure out which one's a little nicer and keep that one, and we'll put the other one up for sale. So if you're watching this video, and I'm sure at least one of you are, and you need a Mego Comic Action Hero, probably just be looking to get what I paid for it back. It was around 30 bucks, you know, maybe a little bit more with tax. So this guy will not be staying with me only because I have one already and didn't realize it. Let me backtrack just a step, because we also stopped at Eide's Comics, or Eide's Collectibles in, actually I think it's called Eide's Entertainment, and that's spelled E-I-D-E, in Pittsburgh. We actually stopped there before we went to D&E, so I should have started this video with this. And I take that back. Only thing we bought at Eide's was comics. It was a great stop. I definitely recommend people stopping and going there. We would have spent more time there if we weren't on the clock. But the item I thought I bought at Eide's, I actually bought somewhere else, and it's chronologically later. Actually, it's chronologically next in the trip. It's before Columbus, but after D&E. We stopped at New Dimension Comics. We shopped their warehouse a little bit and then went to their store. I can't remember the name of the town right now, about an hour outside of Pittsburgh. And I picked up this holiday tune tumblers. I had this at some point. I think it got broken because I do use these tune tumblers. So I was excited to be able to pick this thing up for 10 bucks and put it back in my shelves, and literally in my kitchen shelves. Okay, so that was a quick interjection. Went to Columbus, big fun, got this guy. Then went to, let's see, the next stop was the Route 68 Toy Mall in Xenia, Ohio. This was one I was most looking forward to going to because I'd not been there before, and their online presence suggested to me that they had a bunch of stuff that's kind of in my wheelhouse, the 1970s era Marvel collectibles. Turned out that most of the stuff they had there I had seen already on their web presence, so I was a little disappointed in terms of selection. And then in retrospect, I realized I picked up probably my biggest score of the trip at that location. So I'm gonna, unfortunately on my phone, I can't turn around the camera, which I was about to do. So what I'm gonna do is just sort of eyeball it, and hopefully you'll be able to see. I was able to find a bag full of these Amsco Marvel World cardboard cutouts that go with the Marvel World playset. Now, none of the buildings or the playset itself was there, but, and there were only, I think, 11 stands, so most of these guys aren't standing up. I sort of picked my favorites. And some of them are a little beat. Invisible Woman, as you can see here, doesn't actually have the cardboard backing, just the sort of character peeled off. And similarly, Galactus, one side is fine, but the other side, the character peeled off. But otherwise, these are great. I mean, folks who know me know the Vision is my favorite character. Super exciting to get some of these. What was really such a big deal about this is the entire Ziploc bag, which I think contained about 21 or 22 of the cardboard cutout figures, was all 20 bucks. And a lot of these figures, if you're into Marvel Our World at all, you know it's a very expensive playset. The whole thing, you know, kind of complete, can run you a few $1,000s. And these cardboard cutouts by themselves can be 20 to 50 bucks a piece, depending on the shape they're in and depending on the character. So I was super excited to get these basically at like less than $1 a piece. Because to be honest, a lot of these I probably wouldn't buy. And some of these are cool. They're double-sided, so you have sort of like a secret. So I think my favorite is, you know, you got Captain Marvel on one side, and then you've got Rick Jones banging the Negabands together on the other side. Same thing, you've got Thor on one side and Donald Blake on the other. I think it's the same thing for Iron Man, and on the back, Tony Stark. And I think they did it for Captain America as well. So you've got Captain America here, Steve Rogers here. So they're pretty cool. Some of the folks with less public or less well-known secret identities, like Hawkeye, isn't Clint Barton on the back. But these are great. Probably another one of my favorite characters, Valkyrie. This is probably one of the more beat up characters in terms of just the card, you know, sort of starting to peel a little bit. I don't want to do too much of that because I don't want to accidentally peel it off. But again, to find all these for 20 bucks was a huge steal. The other thing that was in the bag is these other cutouts, which are less interesting and less exciting, mainly because they're mostly villains. Although I have to say, Tiger Shark is pretty effing cool. This is from, I forget the company that made it. You can put it in the comments below if you know, but it's a Spider-Man and Hulk Adventure City, I think it's called, playset that came out a little bit later in the 70s. Again, the Amsco Amsco Marvel World came out in 1975. I think this one might have been in 1978 or 79. So another, I think, 11 or 12 cardboard cutouts that came from the Adventure City playset, and all of these Amsco Marvel World characters. So that was definitely the most exciting buy of the trip. And even though I walked away from Route 68 Toys a little disappointed, I shouldn't be, because this is amazing. I would not have had most of these things in my collection if I didn't find them here. And then as we were leaving, we saw at the counter where the cash register was, there was a series of bookmarks from 1985. 85 is maybe a little bit later than I normally collect things, but these had a really good, cool, old school feel to them. And just, you know, very neat bookmarks. Mostly Hulk and Spider-Man. A few Captain America. Also, there were some Batman ones, but they didn't interest me as much. They had more of a kind of 80s feel to the coloring. I think these are repeats. Yes, so I basically stole some of Richard's that I need to get back to him. So those were cool. They were $2 a piece, so, you know, well worth picking those up as well. So ironically, these, and I've never seen these bookmarks before, so in that sense, they're a little bit rarer maybe than the our Marvel World figures, or cutouts, but these cost a little bit more per item than the much more valuable cardboard cutouts did. If anybody's wondering why I keep saying Our Way, that's a company that did some giant stickers and the jumbo, I don't know how you call them. They were cardboard cutouts that were joint action, sort of wall hanging heroes. So I have some of those in my collection as well, and Our Way is the company that did those, and I don't know why that keeps getting stuck in my head instead of saying Marvel World. So then the final toy stop we made was the South Louisville Antique and Toy Mall. This place is gigantic. I had been there once before with only about 15 minutes or 20 minutes before they closed, so I barely scratched the surface. This time we were able to walk around for, I think it took us about 2.5 hours to cover the whole store. Bought a couple things there for myself and one thing that we're going to resell. I'll start with the resale item. So this is a consignment store, so each of the displays is a different vendor. Some of the vendors is full price and some are very pricey. Others are priced pretty well. Some have discounts going on. So the first thing we saw was, it's not vintage at all. These are some of the extra heads that came with the Marvel HasLab Sentinel. That's the tri-head. This is the battle damaged head that also came with a battle damaged hand. And then lastly, I think what was just kind of the standard head. I believe it also came with a master mold, but that was not included here. These were definitely higher priced than we would have paid for them, except the booth had a 60% deal going off. So they actually ended up being very cheap and worth kind of bringing to a show and seeing if anybody needs extra Sentinel heads. The couple things I bought for myself here. One was kind of a, let's call it an impulse buy and kind of a price buy. This is 1985 Spider-Man Pez dispenser on card. The card is really nice. The bubble is kind of disengaged a little bit from the backing. Again, 85 is a little bit later than I usually buy stuff, but again, the artwork just has kind of a 70s feel. It's a cool looking, you know, candy dispenser, and it was marked at 10, but the booth was having a 60% sale. So again, this was $4 and felt like I couldn't pass that up for $4. Last but not least, probably the Amsco Marvel World figures or cutouts are definitely my favorite thing by far. But I do have a soft spot for these for the Mego heroes. These toys were still on the pegs when I started collecting toys and were the only superhero toys for a while, because it was a little bit before the advent of Secret Wars and Superpowers. So they hold a soft spot, even though I didn't have a lot of them growing up. And I definitely have never had this one before. This is a Shazam, because that's what they were calling him back then. He was no longer Captain Marvel. And I have to say, this is probably one of the nicer versions I've seen of this figure. Really still bright. Lightning bolt. The cape is a bright white, and the cape is there. He has an interesting, I don't know if you can see it here. He's got kind of a purplish coloring around his eyes. And I'm going to do a little research to find out if that's actually what he's supposed to look like, or if whoever owned this somehow colored him in a little bit. But I just think this figure is really pretty. It was definitely pricier than I would have paid for it. It was 48 bucks, I think, on the sticker. But the cabinet that this was in had a 30% discount, so I think it ended up being about $34. Generally, my mark for these is I don't want to pay more than 40 bucks for them. Often, I don't want to pay more than 30, depending on the character and the rarity. And at this point, I can take you over to my cabinet real quickly, and you can see that, you know, the straight-legged Marvel Pocket Heroes in the back there. You can see I've got Zod and Luthor and Jor-El, and then I've got Superman, Batman, Robin, Aquaman. I also have, as I knew I did, Spider-Man, Captain America, and the Hulk. Then I have, in the bent leg version, which I did not know I had, Captain America, Spider-Man, and then I'm gonna have to change my hands here for a second. Sorry for the amateur camera work. Bent leg, I've also got Superman, Robin, Batman, and in the back you can hopefully see Joker and Penguin, and a carded Wonder Woman that I picked up at a show years ago. I think I paid $25 for that. So it was clearly a very good deal. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to probably rearrange some guys later. Actually, I want to make sure he's not going to fall over. So that's where he's going to end up. I'll probably fix it because he looks a little unstable. So that's basically it. That's what I came home with. Pretty decent haul. Pretty good deals on most of it, especially the Marvel World cutouts. And yeah, very excited to have some new things added to my collection. Great road trip. I would definitely do it again, and might very well do it. All right. Thanks for watching.